Lunchtime. So this is a tilefish, and I just fed him some live brine. This will be his first meal of the day. But what an absolutely spectacular fish. Definitely worth having in your aquarium. And look at that. Very hungry. And he is doing unbelievable for us, eating really good, almost out of quarantine. I think it's got a week left to go. This is gonna look great in somebody's aquarium. And over to the side, we have a twin brother who's eating like a champ as well. What is going on, everybody? These guys are not the reason why I'm making this video. I'm making this video because recently we made the decision to break down a customer's aquarium, give it a complete restart. Now, the reasons behind that, I'll go over in this video. Now, keep in mind, this will be probably a longer video because I really want to take you guys through the process and the idea of restarting this aquarium. And then I'd like to hear your thoughts on whether you think this was a good idea or not. All right, without further delay, I'm gonna take you through what the aquarium looked like to what it looks like now. Enjoy. All right, so here we are at the customer's aquarium. And now from first glance, you would look at this tank and you would think, wow, you know, this is great. Look at this big old hammer coral right here. We got some green mushrooms up top here looking big and spread out. They look healthy. And, you know, even over here, if you look at this anemone and clownfish, I mean, this is every reefer's dream, right? This is what you are looking for in a tank. Well, if you take a closer look, you have a coral like this that is receding rapidly. It's even got cyano growth where the recession is, growing on dead tissue. There is just a lot of coralline algae that is being lost. There's tons of vermitid snails throughout this whole tank, which have been an absolute nightmare. There's aiptasia all on the rock. There's aiptasia even like, I mean, every little crevice of the tank. You can't really see all of it, but there's small aiptasia and big aiptasia. You can see there's one right there up top. And then, like I said, vermitids everywhere, and we are starting to drastically lose coralline algae in this tank just because the pests have just taken off. There's so much aiptasia that there's even aiptasia in the sand, like little pieces of aiptasia, so small you could barely see them. And then you have big ones like this that you can see, but for every big one you see, there's like, you know, 30 little ones. Not to mention we have asterina stars throughout the whole tank. So yeah, it's been difficult. Here's the other side of the tank so you can see what it looks like from the opposite end. Again, this acan looks really nice, right? Looks big and fluffy. You see this at the store and you'd buy it up, but that's even losing heads. This frog spawn, again, it's peaked. It's not growing anymore. It's kind of leveled out, which is a bad sign. And then the hammer right next to it is starting to melt away slowly. And it's getting worse and worse, and the vermitids have been really irritating everything. And again, we're losing more coralline algae on this side of the tank. There's tons of aiptasia that are growing everywhere, asterina stars everywhere. The sand is covered in cyanobacteria, diatoms. It's just been an absolute struggle trying to keep this tank level. Now, the soft corals, I mean, you know, the leather corals, the kenny trees, all that, they seem to be fine. But again, this acan, the heads that are on there look great, but the heads around it are starting to die and they're starting to bail too. Just a lot of little things that a lot of people wouldn't see, but we know are there. And again, like once you have corals that kind of aren't growing and are starting to recede and are struggling this bad, and you got multiple problems between brown algae, red algae, vermitid snails, asterina starfish, aiptasia, plus there's definite fish disease in this aquarium. We know for sure these fish have just kind of built up a bit of a tolerance to it. But there's just so many things wrong with this tank. It's just one thing after another. So there you have it. You can get a better understanding of why we decided to do a tank restart. There was just way too many problems, too many issues with the tank for us to get the tank where we feel it should be long term. So we're gonna go ahead and jump to when the tank restart has already been done. Tank at this point, I think, has been up for a couple of months, not very long. And for anybody who set up a saltwater tank before knows the first 4 months are really tough. You're going through the quote unquote ugly phase, and that's exactly what we went through with this tank. And when I tell you ugly, take a look at this. All right, so we're back, and this is what an ugly stage looks like, folks. The brown, ugly, nasty stage of the aquarium life. It's extremely frustrating. For whatever reason, this tank has it really bad. Come to find out, the lights have been on a lot longer than they should be. So we're gonna go ahead and correct that, but in the meantime, we gotta get this under control. One of the other things I've noticed about this tank, it's the phosphates are pretty high, but the nitrates are like zero. There's like no nitrates in this tank. For whatever reason, it's just blowing through nitrates. So we're gonna go ahead and take care of the phosphatage issue. We're gonna do a water change, suck out as much of this brown algae as possible and green hair algae out as possible. We're gonna make an adjustment to the lighting schedule because this right here is probably the worst bit of brown algae I've seen in an aquarium. And this tank has had a history of really bad brown algae explosions. So I'm confident that we'll get over it, making adjustments to the nitrate level, balance the nitrate and phosphate levels out by adjusting the light cycle, because right now between the regular light and the moonlight, this tank is getting close to like 18 hours of light, I believe. It's like something insane like that. So we're gonna dial that way back. There are no coral in this tank. So there's no justification to have that light on that long. So we're gonna go ahead and cut the lights off completely. We do have a couple of newcomer fish in here, some chromis just to start off with, but we need a lot more bioload in this tank. So we're gonna go ahead and cut that light schedule way back. Probably gonna do about a 4-hour light photo period. See the chromis back there. They're healthy. Our first quarantine fish, first batch of fish in this tank. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, we got our work cut out for us today. Big service today, and get this brown and cyano under control. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I am a bit taken back by how much green hair algae there was, but I think a lot of that has to do with the photo period, you know, and the fact that this tank needed a lot more time for the rocks to cure with no lights. That way that the beneficial bacteria could have seeded the rock and claimed that real estate as its own. Because that wasn't able to happen, the green hair algae was able to kind of take over and consume all the excess nutrients that were in this tank. Now, because we have so much experience, you know, dealing with this exact thing, we don't press the panic button. But for those out there that are dealing with this right now, or maybe if this is your first tank and you're dealing with green hair algae and brown algae, look, don't feel down about yourself. Don't let people, you know, make you feel ashamed or that you're not cut out for the hobby. It's part of the learning process. It's part of the process of the tank maturing. It's completely normal. Focus on getting your light, your photo period in check. Keep that as minimal as possible, especially if you don't have corals in a tank. There's really no need to have a light on your tank. So just keep it on for when you want to enjoy the tank and see the fish. But I really wouldn't focus on a long lighting period. And just really double down on your water chemistry and your testing and your tank husbandry, and you'll be just fine. And this is proof right here. A couple of visits later, and we have gotten rid of the hair algae, we've gotten rid of the brown algae, we've just started to introduce corals. This was about a month or so after, so you know, we came out the other side. You can too. We're just starting to introduce some corals, like I said, some softies right now. I just put them in today. The rocks are looking much cleaner. There's a lot of dead like algae on the tank, or a lot of dead algae in the rocks, a lot of detritus and things like that. We're going to go ahead and siphon that out. Continue with our tank husbandry because we know that the tank is starting to mature a lot. I'm starting to see signs of coralline algae. It's all good. It took time, but I think the tank is finally starting to mature a bit. And there is a little bit of brown algae, some diatoms in the sand. You know, we're still focused on that, but far as the rock, they are completely clean. Look at this. And look, you even got some coralline algae growing in spots on the rock. And look at that right there. Look at that big patch of coralline algae. That is unbelievable. And it's thick too. And the corals that we've put in here, the beginner corals, the softies that we put in here, the zoas, look how open they are. The color's great. Again, the rocks are really clean. A lot of coralline algae growth. Nothing competing on the rock, taking up real estate for the coralline algae or the corals. That's a great sign. The anemone, look at the size of this thing now. I mean, that's a healthy anemone right there. Kenya tree, bright green Kenya tree, fully extended, polyps out, great green color on it. Some pallies down below. I'm keeping in the sand because this was a tester coral. That's doing great. It's even starting to grow more heads. Again, more coralline algae on the bottom. Now, like I said, there is some brown in the sand, but that's a lot of the reason is this is still just beginning. Okay, we're not where we need to be yet. We're just introducing corals. We still got some ways to go. Coralline algae growing on the black glass right here. I mean, I'm really happy with the way this tank is going. So let's go to the other side. And then here on the other side, again, more coralline algae and a bunch of spots. Rock, again, clean. And then some zoas on the bottom here, fully extended, open, great color. And then the thing that really makes me feel good, the Goniopora. Look at that. Gonioporas can be tricky corals to take care of. The fact that this is fully extended and out, I'm really happy about that. And hopefully we can get some growth on that pretty soon. Duncan coral. This Duncan coral was struggling for a little bit, but it is fully out now. Heads are out. That thing looks great. Pallies, again, this was a tester coral. Great green, bright green color on these, fully out. And you know when your tank isn't ready is when you put something like a pally in and they got really dull color, they're not open, they're not fully extended. Like I said, the color's very dull, it's washed out. This isn't, this is bright green, it looks great. Another zoa, and then another Goniopora. Look at the color on this one. Amazing, fully extended, healthy, growing. And then the last coral right here, which we just put in, I think 2 weeks ago, that's a Bowerbanki. If you look closely, you can see it's got polyps out, ready to feed. So I'm curious, I'm hoping that one does good. It looks to be doing all right. I think the placement's fine as well. I think I'm gonna feed that today too, give it a little bit of brine shrimp. And then again, the other side here, great coralline algae growth, coralline algae on the acrylic right here, and then some brown in the sand, but for the most part, it's pretty dang clean. Now, as far as the fish go, we have some canary blennies in here now, which were just little guys when we first put them in the tank, but they got some great color on them, fat bellies. Chromis, got a couple of chromis. We have a real grandma somewhere around here. He's hiding in one of these caves. We also have, there's also a biota yellow tang, which is an aquacultured yellow tang in here somewhere. You guys will probably see it before I do. Where is it? Where are you, buddy? Well, he's probably hiding because I just had my hands in the tank. But there's a biota yellow tang in here also. But yeah, that's just a quick glimpse of the tank. And I'm really happy so far with the restart. It's you know, again, at the beginning you go through that ugly stage, there's some browns and stuff like that, but I think the tank is starting to turn that corner. We still have to be very vigilant. We still have to be on our game because, as you can see, there's a little bit of brown on the sand, but the rocks are really clean. It's starting to grow coralline algae, which really gives me a lot of hope. We've made adjustments to the lighting also as well. And I'm really now at the point where I just want to keep putting more and more coral in here. There's a couple of adjustments that I'm going to have to make. We do have to get a new dosing system for the tank because the old one is just, it's very old and it's not working properly anymore. And then there's some work that I'm still going to do in the sump area as well. I think we're going to take out this skimmer because that skimmer is just oversized for this tank. Or if it produces too much skimmate, it tends to kind of spill over if not emptied. And it's too close to the edges there. We don't want any problems. So still some work to do under there, but all in all, for where we are right now, from where this tank was, significant difference. And honestly, this made doing the restart, you know, that much more satisfying because that tank was not healthy the way it was. And I'm glad we did the restart because now I know exactly what's going in here. I know that these fish are healthy, that there's no fish disease that's going to go in this tank. I know that the coral is healthy. I know there's no risk of unwanted pests in here that we might not know about that could be eating coral or creating some type of imbalance. That brings me great joy. And I'm really happy. And also, I can't wait to continue to make this tank look badass. Stay tuned because this is just the beginning. I want this thing looking dope as hell. We also put these 2 UV sterilizers in here as well that possibly could have contributed to the loss of the brown algae, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But we put them in anyways as a precautionary measure. They've been in here for a couple of months now. All right, so there you have it. From where the tank was to the restart, to the ugly phase, and to where it is currently to this present day. Let me know if you guys would have made the same decision. Would you have tried to, battle the issues that were originally in the tank, or would you have just said, you know what, we're gonna go ahead and do this from scratch and start over? I'd be curious to hear you guys' idea on this. And have you ever done a tank restart just because you had just way too many issues with an aquarium? All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.